Hello, I'm Laura Furiosi, divorced mother of 3, and I'm here with my mother, Lynette Galvin, with 35 years experience in family law. You're listening to the Divorce Course podcast. Through our candid discussions, we hope to help you through your divorce or de facto separation. We will be answering the most commonly asked questions and covering the stages and steps that you will face on your way to freedom. Are you divorcing a narcissist, or are you divorcing someone who has narcissistic traits? One of the most popular episodes we ever did was with a wonderful lady called Madafferi, and she is from Grey Rock Consulting, and she has amazing ideas, tips and support for people going through a divorce with a narcissist or even afterwards through the post-separation abuse. So whether you've got an ex with narcissistic traits or whether you have an ex who is a narcissist, this episode is going to be perfect for you. So welcome, Mia. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be back.
Hello. And you had so many great things to say, and we only got to do such a short episode with you. So today we want to talk about why mindset is key. And I know everyone's going to roll their eyes a little bit and go, oh, mindset, when it comes to legal stuff. Well, that's so, hippie. But I'd really like your point of view to explain to our listeners why sometimes the biggest hurdle when dealing with a narcissist going through divorce is mindset.
Absolutely. So you would have heard, I'm sure many people have already heard, if you're going into a negotiation, for example, mindset is key for a successful outcome. It absolutely applies in this context as well. Your mindset shapes, your perception. It shapes what actions you take. It affects the decisions you make. So, when you are leaving a narcissist or a high conflict personality, you've got the physical separation, but you also have to cultivate that mindset or the mindset separation to, empower you to get out of there, empower you to break the patterns and get your control back. So it's just so important.
And do you find with the clients that you work with, and Mum, I can ask you as well, being a family lawyer of 35 years, do you find sometimes that even though you've left, these clients have left their exes, they still kind of seem to be stuck in the same struggle, the same power dynamic, even though they're not even living together anymore?
Absolutely. And I think it's so important to say now, because people might be listening and then they feel bad that their mindset is focused on the narcissist, is stuck in the past, is in the old patterns. This is not to make anyone feel bad at all. It's really a journey. And, we are speaking of people who have come from years and years and years of control, manipulation, intimidating, gaslighting, the list goes on. So they're coming out of a situation where they believe they are the problem, where they believe what they have been convinced of. If I could wave my magic wand and click my fingers and your mindset is shifted, I would do it every second of every day until everyone has shifted. It doesn't work like that. And it is a journey and it's a process, and you need support, the right support with the right people to get through that journey. But what I can absolutely tell you and absolutely guarantee, once you shift your mindset from them to you, oh, I get goosebumps. You watch the
goosebumps.
I get like the hairs are standing up on my arms. Watch the shift, watch the power dynamic change, and watch how you start to take the driver's wheel again. I mean, it's incredible, incredible.
So, Mum, have you seen, like during a mediation, have you seen where people are still stuck in that pattern, and the difference between those who have changed the focus to themselves? Yes. Have you seen that?
I've really seen it in mediation. And like you say, Mia, it's nobody's fault. It's where they are on the journey. And the way the court is working at the moment, people are getting into mediation a lot quicker than they used to be. And sometimes before their mindset has got enough out of that coercive control. But a person in a mediation who is free of that and has moved on, they're much more businesslike about their mediation, and it less heated. It becomes less heated. If a person's still stuck in that awful old pattern, or they are nursing the grievances from that old pattern, and I do not blame them one little bit, then I can hear them when I bring an offer to them. They go, "But then she wins," or "Then he wins," and it's you have to explain to them what it means to them, but until they're ready, Mia, like you say, it's a journey.
Yeah.
So how do people, Mia, what are your tips on how to get out of this trance? How do you get out of that? Because if you've been in a marriage or a relationship with a narcissist or the manipulative, controlling person for 10, 15 years, that's a lot to unpack, and that's, you can't just, like you said, do it overnight. So have you got any strategies for people? How do you change your mindset?
Yeah, I often say it's like, tentacles. Being in these situations, there's so many tentacles through you. Some of them you're not even aware of until they press a button and you react and you're like, oof, what was that one? So, it is a process of extracting those tentacles slowly but surely. But the starting point is, you make the decision to change. You make the decision that you want something different. Because guess what? The decision is yours. You have all the power and control over that. So it starts with a decision. It also then starts with, it is a process, but there is a concept of radical acceptance. Sounds so easy. Yes, I'll just accept something so quickly. That is about the person you are dealing with. Because if you don't understand and accept who you're dealing with, that's how you're going to get stuck down again in those old patterns, being triggered, having the reaction to them each and every time. So, what is so insidious here is talk about trauma bombs and love bombing and hoovering and all those things in their toolkit. And every now and again, they'll be nice to you, or they'll do something where you go, oh, that is the man or the woman that I knew. That is the person that I fell in love with. There they are. There they are. But what is so awful about it all is that you're not seeing who they once were. Who you're seeing now is actually the real them. And the person that you met and fell in love with is actually, they were mirroring to you exactly what you wanted them to be. Now, I hope people rewind that and listen to it over and over again. They were mirroring to you the person that you wanted to see. I mean, let that land for a second, right?
It's, and it's that cycle, I guess, like there you go, that, these people say, oh, these horrible things, they do all these horrible things. And then there's this glimpse of the sun and you go, oh, that's the person, or they say, that's the person I married. That's the real person. And they go, oh, yay. And then.
So the glimpse of the sun is more often than not because they are angling for something, or they need something, or somebody is watching. It is not a glimpse of the sun, literally. So I know that's really, really hard to accept, but it really sets you free. And what I will also recommend to people when I say, make the choice, because the choice is yours, there's a couple of things to remember in that. Baby steps. This is not something overnight to make this massive shift and completely change everything, because it will overwhelm you and you will go back, right? It's a journey, and those baby steps will get you to a point where you eventually course correct and make a U-turn. And that's when you start seeing all your boundaries implemented. That's when you see that you are a bit freer of them. You're not reacting to them. Beware, they will not take this lying down. They will not sit there and go, oh, she wants me to respect her time. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that I was doing that. Oh my gosh, she wants me to stop accusing me of all these things. I didn't even realize. I am so sorry. That will not happen. And what they will do is they will escalate. And they escalate because they go, who's this? I'm just going to raise the bar a few notches and get her or him to go back to the person that I want. And that's what they're doing. They're testing you to go back. So stay the course. So
that's a really good point. So they escalate when they notice that they're losing that control, and that you're starting to see, oh, wait, that's not the sun. That's not who they are. That's just what I want to see in the mirror. What then the problem is, Mum, I guess, is people are going through divorce. So obviously they know they're losing that control and power over you. So of course, then by the sounds of it, that escalation is going to happen right at the beginning stages of separation and through property settlement and mediation. So how do you stop giving your energy then to your ex in that space when you have to interact with them? You have to be writing about them. You have to look at their bank statements and like come up with a property pool. You have to do all that stuff. So you are technically giving your energy to them, but how do you stop it from,
I don't think you're giving your energy to them when you are working on your case for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this is very simple to say, but when they start showing their true awful selves, it makes it a lot easier to separate from, because you go, oh yes, I remember. And is that right, Mia?
I wholeheartedly agree with you. So when you are focusing your energy on, resolving custody, separating finances, and, that is cutting some really big ties, which you need to do mentally, cut those ties as much as possible. So the work in that space I see as investing in yourself, protecting yourself. So absolutely do that. There are also things you can do in the other space, which is when you're getting 100 emails a day about all sorts of rubbish or text messages and one thing after the other. Little steps which make a big difference. Set up an email rule, get them into another email box so you don't have to see them. You choose when you look at the emails. It sounds little, but by gosh, it makes a huge difference to your mindset, because then I'm looking at that inbox. There's going to be some awful stuff there. There's going to be things in there that are not true. I'm ready for it. Don't text with them. Don't have their name pop up on your phone every day. It's unnecessary. So stop all those sorts of things.
And Mia, I always say, don't let them set the agenda.
Never.
If you're going to have a negotiation with a narcissist, anticipate what they're going to do. Either they're going to respond nastily, or they're going to come back trying to crawl, or they're not going to come back at all. And have your firm strategy. See, you're nodding. Yeah, you need to have control of your process.
100%. Absolutely. And do you know what, people, I was just going to say, this almost comes across, people don't like the word strategy, and I don't mean to sound calculated, but, the law operates looking at a reasonable person. We are well and truly out of that sphere here. You are not dealing with a reasonable person. So if I said to you, you're going into a business negotiation tomorrow for your work, would you just rock up and not be prepared, not have your best case, your worst case, what you're willing to concede, your strategy? Are you not going to put on the best first offer, convince them why it's good for them? Of course you are. So you've got to do that in this space too. It's a really different mindset.
And then we've been talking a lot about post-separation abuse and continuing coercive control moving forward after separation, because it does come as a surprise to a lot of people. I have a feeling it's not going to come to a surprise to anyone who's been married to a narcissist, I guess. But there is this whole push of legal abuse that comes through. And I guess, like you said, that escalation of them losing power over you. So they're using everything that they can throw at you. And legal abuse is one of those things. And I hear you, what you're saying is, focus on you and get your power back. But how, when you are so afraid of not doing what they say, or, these listeners write in and they're just terrified of court. They're terrified of being dragged back there with 5 seconds over something that happened 2 years ago, or whatever it is, that legal abuse done by a narcissist. How do you keep your power in those moments, Mia?
It's awful. And what Lynn said before is so important here. Anticipate. When you know the other side, when you know who you're dealing with, anticipate what's coming. It takes the blow away. You're like, knew this was going to happen, suspected this would happen. There are so many things that you can do. And I wish this didn't happen. But right now, the way our legal system works and the processes, it can happen. So once you know, once you anticipate, once you've done all your research, once you become an expert in documentation, document, objective documentation. I mean, let them take the low road, let them behave in all sorts of horrible ways. You take the high road every single time. You're not stooping to that level. Their behaviours can speak for themselves. And a magistrate or a judge might not see it right away. They see so many people every day in and out, and they just want you out of their list, because they're busy. This will all ultimately work in your favour if you take the right steps to protect yourself and you don't stoop to that level and you're objective. There's so many things that you can do. I also don't want to take away from the emotional side of it. I say all of this, but there's also a reality. Sucks. It sucks. because you know what they're doing. They lob things on you when you're busy with kids or you've got a big deadline. They know exactly what they're doing. It's awful. So have your network around you, have support, your psychological support, your legal support, all those things that can help you through this process. I know it's really, really tough, but you will get there. You'll get there.
Mia, I remember a client who was quickly an ex-client who wanted me to serve divorce papers on his wife on her birthday, deliberately on her birthday, and if you're having a happy time and you can expect these things to come in. So they're going to do it.
One of the things Mum has said in the past, anyone who's listening today, if and Mia's said, it's probably going to happen to you if you know it's going to happen. So expect it, be prepared, document. And on a lighter side, some way to take the power back because, you are expecting it. Mum calls it narcissistic bingo. So you can say, all right, one of the bingo cards could have serves divorce papers on my birthday, files a, affidavit that's full of lies, so you could kind of take a little bit of the power out of them by having a bit of a laugh and going, oh my gosh, this person is so ridiculous.
It helps if one of our popular podcasts was the Narcissist Playbook.
Yes.
And there's a lot of power in knowing they're just following a pattern.
Yeah.
I have so many clients say to me, how did you know they were going to say that? I'm like, because they're all the same.
You're invited to our free webinar. Whether you're stuck at the beginning of deciding to divorce or you're struggling to find your way through the legal jargon and fear of the unknown of the legal process, we are here to empower you to take control. Join us to learn what steps you can take, followed by a live Q&A where you get Lynn, my amazing mum, and family law accredited specialist to answer your questions. All you have to do is go to www.thedivorcecourse.com.au and click on Reserve My Seat. We'll see you there. Hurry, spaces are limited, so don't miss out. Register today.
I have so many clients say to me, how did you know they were going to say that? I'm like, because they're all the same. It is on a spectrum and the behaviours and patterns differ. But it is a playbook and all of these things. I actually think it's really important too when we're talking about mindset. There's probably listeners going, hold on a minute, she just said focus on you and stop thinking about them. And now we're talking about anticipate what's coming and know what they're going to do. Isn't that me focusing on them again? Sure, but in a really, really different way where your mindset gets impacted. And again, I'm not criticizing or begrudging anyone that does this. We all have a process. Is when you are on the daily, he did this and then he said this and now I don't know what to do and it just becomes this all-consuming, overwhelming pot of, I was going to say something else. Let's just say rubbish, mud essentially. But that the ruminating, the focusing 24/7 on everything they've said, they've done, the way they've looked. Can you believe she said this to me? And then did you know he did this with it? All those things is where you start going down that sort of negative energy vampire trap. The things we're talking about over here to focus on when it comes to them is empowering. And Laura, you said a little bit of power by laughing. I think it is a ton of power because that is kryptonite for them. You being strong and smart and powerful and not knocked around by them, kryptonite.
Mm. And when you can replace the I can't believe they would do this to me with of course they did this. Yes. Of course they'd do this. I knew they would do
of course.
This. Yes. And that helps you.
Yep.
And luckily I knew they'd do this because I've documented all the proof, et cetera, et cetera. And I know I don't want to come across being preachy because I know the people that are going through this, and there's some people on TikTok that are saying it's hard. It is so hard when you're in it, and it does seem to just be your whole world. And if it is about children, if you're in court about children, they are your whole world. That they're your whole being. And so I know we're saying, oh yeah, could change mindset, etc. We get it though. We know how hard it's going to be for you guys. But yeah, even if you can just get a little win by laughing and feeling a little protected by documenting, the next time you get a word salad message. Mia, what do you say to people who get these big word salad lawyer letters or word salad co-parenting messages? What do you do in that instance?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, when you mentioned people saying it's so hard, I absolutely sympathise and empathise with that. And it's not about sitting here on my pedestal and going, please come up to this level. If there are people who are in that mud sick part, if anything from listening to this, they hear this is possible. I can get to that place. It's going to take some grit and some effort, but I want to get there. Well, what a fantastic outcome to know that it will get better. You know that it can get better if you take some steps, and you're going to get some knocks. It's not linear. It's not always on an upwards projection. There'll be some bumps that bring you down. Lesson learned, keep going, those sorts of things. We're all human. The word salad is one of the funniest things in the whole wide world, and I'm hoping people hear me say that and go, did she just say funny? Because when you walk away from it, you'll see it, you'll be triggered, you'll be upset, walk away from it, come back after you've changed the focus and you're not upset about it anymore. And if you literally go through it with a red pen and cross out the stuff that doesn't need to be responded to, and be brutal with this, because I can guarantee you so much of it does not find the question they are asking. Find one thing that you need to respond to and ignore the rest. The only sort of, qualification to ignore the rest, if the word salad has some stuff in there and you're in court proceedings and you've got a custody issue and they make some accusations about you as a mother or as a father or the kids, you don't even need to delve into it. You can say, I deny those allegations, or what you're saying is not true, full stop. So no judge will ever go, but you never responded to that. So are you saying that that is all true? So there are short, concise things that you can say, full stop. You're never going to convince them that they're wrong, ever. So why go into it? Answer the question they're asking, and that is it.
I love it when I get a long, long letter from the other side, because they say stuff in there that you can use against them in court because there's no filter. They just
yeah.
Particularly the stuff that the person writes at the lawyer.
I was going to ask you, Lynn, would you agree from your practice as well, is I often have to remind clients when they get a letter from the ex's lawyer and it's full of all these things, that at the end of the day, the lawyer is being instructed by their client. So you might actually have a situation where the lawyer has said, I wouldn't recommend saying any of this stuff. And they say, nope, I want it all in there. So people kind of jump and go, their lawyer's just as bad as them. Not always.
I think, Mia, the client finds the lawyer that matches them, because I would never do that. If someone says this is going to go, no, but there's another lawyer down the road that might.
Yeah.
I think one of the things, Mia, I just want everyone who's listening to hear is that and I'm interested in your point of view on this, the number of times I can say to my client, the next thing, especially if they've repartnered, the next thing he's going to tell you, he never really loved you, or she never really loved you. And that's not true. That's a lie they tell themselves to justify the new relationship being the light of their lives. And so if you know that's coming, it can take some of the heat out of that.
Absolutely. Look, more often not, the partner pre-exists you anyway. If they have a sense that you're done, well, they are very quickly looking for the next. Whilst, of course, telling family, friends, the next door neighbour, the dog across the road that, I'm so heartbroken. She was the love of my life. I can't believe this has happened. Meanwhile, they've already got someone lined up in the background. But yeah, absolutely. They tell whatever story suits them and makes them look good to others. And that is the simple reality. And what it means is you'll hear things that are very hurtful.
I was wondering, a nice way to round off this episode, because, we've kind of given them some warnings. We've said, document, change your mindset, be prepared for all this sort of stuff. But I think some people who come out of narcissistic relationships or coercive controlling relationships aren't aware fully yet of what kind of patterns they've been in. until later they have another relationship where they're like, oh, I have to get permission, a week before I'm allowed to go anywhere. I better check with my new partner. And they're like, why are you asking permission? And then that's when people go, oh, wait, what? That's not a normal thing. So it does take some discovery for people to figure out, oh, that was a really bad pattern and that was a bad pattern. And all of these things that used to happen to me were bad, but they don't realize it till much later. Yeah. And so the ex can continue to use those patterns moving forward through the divorce process to continue to manipulate and control. So are there some typical, abuse patterns through narcissistic behavior that you could key in anybody who's listening today who is only just maybe freshly out of a relationship, who probably maybe hasn't even thought of some of these things as, a pattern of behavior that they're still in?
Yeah, what they are experts in is finding all your soft points, your trigger points, what matters to you. They are experts in reading you, and then they know, the children, that's an obvious one every single time. Finances, comments about you, and you've got no friends and no one likes you and everyone thinks you're the worst, and they'll do all these sorts of things when they know it's going to upset you. And so the way you can shift that and the way that you can change that going forward is a bit of self-awareness, which doesn't mean it's your fault. It is about getting the support, whether it's a psychologist or a counsellor, someone who understands this personality type. So you can start unpacking all these things, but also so you can get a toolbox of this is what's going to happen and this is how you can deal with it. I often say with relationships as well, people can absolutely make their own decisions. But when you've come out of something like this, it is so, so, so important to take a minute for yourself and to get good with yourself so that you don't end up in another relationship like that, so that you don't end up learning the hard way. Give yourself a minute.
And I think, Mum, the process in the family court at the moment seems to be on fast forward with all these new changes. So what do you say to people who, you leave your partner and all of a sudden you've got this letter to go to mediation? So what have you been telling people recently?
Well, we've got to be careful to follow the central practice direction, but don't go in the first week. Like I've heard of people, you don't have to go to mediation the first week. That's weird. It needs to be led up to, there needs to be proper intakes. Also, don't go on faith of what they may say the property pool is, and if, there's a lot of people who will write me and say, how dare you cancel mediation? I've had people turn up with mediation booked, but the disclosure is so bad. And I just say, no, we're not going. And then there's threats of costs. So it kind of lends itself, doesn't it, a little bit to further abuse. But you need to, like you say, focus on yourself, Mia, and get the information you need to make the best decisions for you. And, we had a case only 2 weeks ago where the judge ordered costs against a person who dragged us all to court before proper exploration of the options. Yeah.
Okay. So, and I think it's particularly to mums or dads, like single parenting, it's a whole new ball game. So you've left a narcissistic or controlling person. You're then also now a single parent. So you've probably, double load or maybe same if they never did anything. So, but it's a whole new ball game. You're completely overwhelmed. You're probably moving. You're probably packing. You're never ever stopping. And then on top of that, you've got lawyer stuff and legal stuff. So you're right, Mia. I think it's so important. And mums are so guilty, and some dads, or most dads, so guilty of not looking at themselves. And I know that old saying, make sure you put your your oxygen mask on first. That actually is so important. And I think when you go into autopilot, and a lot of people do, they become numb and they go into autopilot and they just want to survive and get through. Sometimes you got to stop and just go, whoa, I got to look to myself as well.
Yeah. I'm not sure, Lynn, if you've seen this as well, but yeah, you come out of it and you're in the fog of all of it, and they're probably in your ear saying, we don't want to go through the court process, we don't want to do this, it's a waste of time and money, and da-da-da-da, and they put something in front of you which maybe looks not so bad, but you are in the thick of the fog once you first get out, and you haven't had a minute stop, think, get advice, and do all those things, and more often than not, what they're putting in front of serves them, even if it looks good. So take your time.
Yeah. Good point.
I think
Mia.
it's a very valuable lesson. And Mia, we love having you on. We're going to have you on again. We're going to be doing another episode with you in a couple of months or a couple of weeks. About like the nitty gritty of negotiating divorce and negotiating property settlement, etc., with a narcissist. And you've got some really great strategies up your sleeve because you're the only qualified person in Australia. So did you want to tell us a little bit about if anybody wants to find you or know how to work with you?
Yeah, so I'm the first one in Australia. So I'm now a master high conflict negotiation coach, and I was certified by Rebecca Zung, which I'm confident most of your audience has heard of because she is amazing in this space. She's got something called a SLAY program, and it's a great name, but it's also a great acronym when you are negotiating with these personality types. So if that's you, make sure you reach out, and you can contact me through Instagram on Grey Rock Consulting, or you can jump on the website, which is www.greyrockconsulting.com.au.
Wonderful. And thank you so much, Mia. We can't wait to do that episode with you. I want to hear what this sleigh method is.
It's SLAY, isn't it? Not as in a Santa sleigh.
No, SLAY.
All right. Thank you. And do you have any, usually I ask Mum this, but I'll ask you, do you have any wise words, one last thing people can take away from today? If they just listen and take away one thing, what is it you want them to take away with them today?
That they are more afraid of you than you are of them.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Wow.
No one realises that.
Boom.
Because their very self is threatened, isn't it? Their very sense of self is threatened. If you wake up to them.
Yep, you have threatened. What do they live for? It's all the external. They are externally driven, and you've seen them. They are more afraid of you than you are of them. And that is why they escalate. It's why the bullying increases.
Holy moly, that gave me goosebumps.
That's why they get worse. Because it's like, oh, no, you're not going to do this to me. You're not going to reveal to all my friends and my boss and who I truly am. No. So they escalate. They are more afraid of you than you are of them.
Thank you so much, Mia. That was so powerful. I hope that everyone listening today feels a little bit better, and you know where to find Mia. We'll put her information in the show notes, and we are going to do another episode with you very soon. Thank you, Mia.
Thank you so much, Mia. Bye, Laura.
If you found this podcast helpful, we'd love it if you could rate, review and subscribe. By doing so, you are spreading the word to help someone else just like you. Lynn would like to remind you that this podcast is general advice only, and you should always get legal advice in relation to your particular situation. And remember that the Australian laws may have changed since recording.